Hello and welcome to Dune Does DVD, and this is Disney Classics number 15, Lady and the Tramp. This is going to be one with a fairly short introduction, I think, because I realise I've never seen this as far as I can remember, and I know very little about it. I know at some point the two dogs will be eating spaghetti and end up eating the same piece and ending in a kiss. That is the only thing I know about this film. The poster tells me it's from the novel by Ward Green, but that doesn't mean anything to me. I don't know who that is, and I have certainly never read it. But from the title, I can make a guess that this is some kind of class-based love story, where Lady is a fancy dog with a rich owner, and the Tramp is some kind of stray street dog, and they still fall in love despite their differing circumstances. The one thing I am surprised about this one, though, is how early it is in the box set. If you'd have asked me to guess before I started this project, I would have thought this film came from somewhere in the 70s or 80s, not 1955. I don't know exactly where I got the idea, but it feels like it should be one of the later ones. But knowing that doesn't really help me with any of my expectations or anything, aside from the fact that there's a much lower chance that I will enjoy the music. But here's hoping I will be pleasantly surprised. Let's find out what this is all about. Okay, so that wasn't actually all that bad. Although, as you can probably guess from that slightly vague description, it wasn't all that great either. Thankfully, it wasn't nearly as much about class divide as I expected it was going to be. It's more just a, slice of life, but from the perspective of dogs. The story hurdles for the characters weren't really anything to do with class barriers. For the Tramp, it's more just avoiding getting sent to the pound, and for Lady, it's about dealing with becoming a lower priority in her family after a baby gets born. The animation of the dogs and the attention to detail in their movements is lovely, but that is let down by the fact that there just isn't a lot of story going on here. It's a snapshot of these dogs' lives, and some things happen because, things happen, but they're not really very intense or meaningful, they're just some things that happen. It seems like they spent a bunch of time creating wonderful characters, but then ran out of time to give them anything interesting to do. Going back to my comments about being surprised about how early this is in Disney's catalogue, I was also surprised by the time frame in which this is set. For example, the dog pound cart being horse-drawn. Not that that really matters in any way, but it just wasn't what I was expecting to see. Much like giving a puppy a coffee and a donut for breakfast is not quite what I would expect. And the story also includes a moment which I would generally say is usually hard to justify, and that's the death fake out. It can work, but it doesn't really here. You're led to believe that one of the dogs has died, but then in the next scene, he's only just broken his leg. I didn't care enough about the character who had supposedly died to be moved by that, so I was even more annoyed when they find out that he wasn't dead, which is possibly a bit harsh, but that's how I felt. But I guess you can't have dogs dying in kids' movies. Musically, there's not a lot going on here, with the exception of the song We Are Siamese. Now, I have definitely never seen this film before, but I recognise that song from somewhere. Possibly I've seen it in some kind of documentary about Disney or something like that, but I didn't recognise any of the visuals that went with it either, just the song. I feel like I've seen it in something else, possibly live action, and I guess maybe some kind of parody, but according to Google, I can't find any other reference to where that song's been used. But as soon as it came on, I was like, I know this, I had no idea it came from this film. And now it's bugging me that I don't know where I know it from. Behind the scenes, there's a couple of interesting technicalities around this film. The first one I noticed right at the beginning, and that's that after 16 years of all these Disney films being distributed by RKO Radio Pictures, now we've swapped over to Disney's own Buena Vista distribution, which is a much more familiar brand name to me. RKO Radio just seems so old. And the other change that goes along with that, I don't know whether they're related in any way, but which actually took me midway into the film before I even noticed, is that this one is in a widescreen format, not the original 4:3 Academy ratio. And I guess perhaps that's what gives this film a bit more of a modern feeling. So overall, pretty good. The animation of the dogs was lovely, but as someone who's more of a cat person than a dog person, I didn't enjoy it as much for that reason, because the cats here are kind of more played as the villains. I didn't find myself particularly invested in the outcomes of any of the dog characters, but still, it's well made and pretty to look at. What are your thoughts on this one? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again next week with Sleeping Beauty.